Good evening. Tonight marks 30 years, believe it or not, of Christmas Stories with Aaron. I was going to say to Aaron, long Broadway run. So I've been talking with Aaron and Yeshua yesterday and today. And rather than sum up what they told me, I'm just going to give you Aaron. You've all but Agni have been here before. You explained who Aaron is, though. Okay, so why not? When Aaron incorporates, I leave my body. Looks like me sitting here, but I'm not here. Aaron will talk, and Yeshua will talk. And then we'll all go get some tea and sit by the fire. My blessings and love to all of you. I am Aaron. Barbara has asked me to note that we have the big monitor on the floor down here. If I want to see your faces, I have to look down. If I forget to look up at the blue light of the camera and I'm looking down, please, some of you do that. Remind me. Because I enjoy looking at your faces. Not at a blue light, but I have a room full of people here. Good to see all of you. Traditionally, on this Wednesday before Christmas, I've shared memories of the lifetime in which I lived during Yeshua's time, and in which I was honored to call him a friend. They're beautiful memories, very joyful. And some of them painful, yes, but still joyful, because no matter what was happening, I learned so much from him. Remember that Yeshua was human. Regardless of the circumstances of his birth, once he was born, he was fully human. He was much more deeply connected to the one he called Abba, Father, Mother, Divine Source, than are most of us. Much more awake at the time of his birth. But he was young. He did experience emotions and the discomforts of the physical body. If the body hurt, it was unpleasant. Aversion might arise. That's natural. If he tasted something delicious, it was pleasant. Liking would arise. And he'd be thinking, oh, I'd like more of that. Very normal. The difference is that when like or dislike arose for Yeshua, or the emotions of annoyance or impatience or sadness or confusion, he did not have a solidified ego that grabbed hold of these body and emotional experiences. He did not attach to them. He did not build stories around them. Many times I observed him in situations where something was uncomfortable. One situation that comes to mind was a long day of walking in very hot sun. And we were short of water. So we were all thirsty. He was walking and talking a bit less than usual, but still talking. He was stepping back to walk beside the people who were walking the most slow, the people who seemed to be dragging, as if to encourage him. I asked him, Yeshua, aren't you hot and tired? He looked at me and said, of course. Don't you want to stop and sit down? Well, I would like to. But we have ground yet to cover today, and it's important we be there. So we'll keep walking. I asked him, if you want to stop, how do you deal with the ego that wants to stop? He said, very simple. I remember, this is the ego. What does the heart want? The true awakened self. Does it want to stop? No. What am I going to listen to? The small self or the awakened self? But he never shamed himself that the small self had arisen and was speaking. He did not say, oh, you be quiet, you're nothing but ego. Rather, he was able to hold the ego, to embrace the ego loving. But not get caught in its stories, because he rested so firmly in the deeper truth of who he was. This ability was one of his greatest gifts to many of us, because most of us got caught in the stories, lost in our anger or sadness. He never criticized us when that happened. Only would put an arm around a shoulder and say, I see how deep the sadness is right now. Come, let us walk together for a bit. I don't know what he said to others at those times. To me, he would say, I see you're sad. And I thought, right there with the sadness. And so much of my teaching comes from this. Right there with the sadness. Where is that which has happened? He did not suggest that I should be in any way ashamed that sadness had arisen, but that I had a choice not to get caught in the small ego self and the sadness. Of course, he came to teach us all that we were that awake self, that Christ consciousness. And he did it only with love. I've described how I came to Yeshua just after my wife's death, with my oldest son, Mark, with me. I was distraught by her death. The newborn was left with the family and the younger children. And Mark and I set off to find Yeshua, who I had been told was nearby. By nearby, within a few days' walk. And so we walked, and you may remember my story of falling, sliding down a steep ravine and breaking my leg. Mark was able to stop some passers-by who helped splint the leg, carry me up the hill, put me in a cart, and thus I was carried to where Yeshua was. I was in pain, of course, and he worked energetically with the leg to support healing. But he didn't fix the leg. He just supported the process of healing. And I was angry at him. I want you to fix the leg. And he said, no, that's not my job. I don't fix things. Rather, I support your process. He paid far more attention in the coming few weeks to my grief than to my leg, reminding me that it was okay to grieve and natural to grieve, that it was the ego that was grieving for what it had wanted and anticipated and was clinging to. That I did not have to be caught in those ego stories. So in those weeks, he asked me to share memories with him of my beloved wife who had passed away. He helped to bring her into life in my heart. He helped me to see that I could not lose her. And magically, during this time, the leg healed. Not magically, naturally. It seemed like magic to me, because it was a few weeks, not 6 weeks, that it might normally take a broken bone. So he did not belittle me, my grief. He did not lead me to feel ashamed of grief. He knew how to be with every physical and emotional experience with spaciousness, never with condemnation. Because he could do that, the ego never pulled itself into stories of if only, or how do I fix, or I am ashamed of, but rather just rested in the innate perfection and beauty of being. There was a time when we were boys, when we were sitting by a fire with my sheep, my father's sheep. Yeshua with me for a few days, as happened occasionally, learning the work of a shepherd, the life of a shepherd, to deepen his understanding. Bullies came. Yeshua and I, my father, had offered us enough provisions for the 4 or 5 days it would be out there with the sheep. The bullies wanted to take everything. And then they wanted to take a lamb. They carried a lamb in, a very young lamb from the field, and said, if he won't give us his food, let's just take his lamb. I was so angry. Yeshua, remember, was 4 or 5 years younger than I was. I was supposed to be the mature one. Yeshua, totally fearless, walked up to these much older boys and said, why do you want our food? Because he saw that they had a pack animal with them and abundant food. Why do you want our food? The leader of these bullies was kind of tongue-tied. Well, because you have it. Blah, blah, blah. Long excuses. Yeshua walked up and the man standing next to the bully still had the lamb in his arms. And Yeshua just reached out for the lamb and took him into his arms and said, you would take this poor innocent lamb? You would kill him when you do not need food? The bully began to react, and Yeshua said, if you need him, if you need our food, that's okay. But can you explain to me why you need our food? The bully began with his excuses. We have enough now, but sometimes there's not enough. We need it against the lack. Yeshua, perhaps 9 years old, said, why do you anticipate a lack? What if there is plenty of food? In case there is a lack, well, why do you anticipate a lack? Well, it's happened to me so many times, and Yeshua said, tell me about it. How does that feel? I've never experienced such a lack. My heart goes out to you. Tell me how it feels. So he did not belittle the bully. He heard the bully. He heard his fears and his pain. And how often there was no food. There was no warm coat. The bully felt hurt. The bully began to hear Yeshua because Yeshua could hear him. Here, Yeshua's ego was clearly not responding, but his loving heart is a weakened self. Finally, the bully agreed. We have plenty of food now. I guess we don't need your food or the lamb. Yeshua said, but we would be glad to share food with you. Nathaniel and I were just about to eat. Why don't we sit down and eat together? He indicated to me to bring out some of our provisions. There was enough, barely enough for Nathaniel, for me and Nathaniel, for Yeshua, for these 4 older boys. Scarce, but enough. The head of this group of bullies indicated to one of his friends, take some of our food. Let's put it out so we have a decent meal. It made him feel good to have enough to provide for us. We all ate together, talked together, sat by the fire, and shared about our lives together. This group of 4, perhaps they were 15 or 16-year-old boys who had grown up with some degree of abuse and poverty, sharing the hardships of their lives. And Yeshua and me following Yeshua's lead, just nodding our heads and agreeing that must have been very painful. And so these, let's not call them bullies anymore, but these young men who had known fear and lack, perhaps for the first time in their lives, they found themselves heard and respected. They not only went away, but word passed among others of their kind. Do not abuse Nathaniel, they with his sheep, or the young lad with him, Yeshua. They are good people. Leave them alone. I had the opportunity to meet with these young men at other times through my growing up years. They were never cruel to me again. In fact, they brought me gifts. I didn't ask them why, but my heart knew why. Because we had respected them. And I could not have done that myself, but Yeshua taught me how. Always when people were arguing, he had the ability to help them hear each other. Much later in our lives, Pastor Boyd, I was with Yeshua and a small group of others walking. Two men, we came upon two men who were fighting. There was a beast of burden, like a mule. Each one claimed, "This is my mule." And as we got the story, apparently, the mule had gotten loose, was wandering, and both men came upon it at once. It had no markings on it. Both claimed it. And they were really ready to kill each other. They both had knives drawn. Yeshua said, this is the adult Yeshua, sit down with me. Tell me about your mule. Not the mule. You tell me about your mule. You tell me about your mule. They each told stories about their way they had taken care of their mule, the way it had carried things for them, how much they appreciated the mule, how much their survival depended on being able to roam the countryside and travel with their wares they were selling, with the mule to carry things. Looking at them both, he said, "It's clear to me you both loved this beast of burden. Perhaps it's the same mule, perhaps it's a different mule. Out of your love for this animal, can you put your knives and your anger down? Each of you has some things that need to be carried. And each of you tell me that in the past few days you have lost your mule. It has wandered off. You are brothers. Can you each load some of your goods on this mule? And since you're going to the same place, can you walk together? Two are stronger and wiser than one. In these ways, he helped people to drop ego stories and to connect with that which was innately connected and awake in themselves. He often said to people, you are not brothers. You are like limbs of the same body. A brother may become angry at a brother and strike out against that brother. But if you have two arms and two legs, your arm never becomes angry at the other arm and strikes it off. This is how we are. We are part of each other, connected through the divine source of which everything is expression. Because this was such a deep truth to him, others got it. He didn't try to convince people. He simply spoke his truth. And he lived that truth, treating every sentient being that he met as if they were an extension of Abba, of the mother, of love, and not in any way separate from himself. People found it difficult to agree to that in the beginning. But he did not try to convince it with words. He simply lived it, treating every being with enormous respect and care. This understanding that we all are all expressions of the source was perhaps the clearest, what is the right word? The clearest foundation of unconditional love in him. He did not start with an intellectual, I will be lover. He simply did not see anything else as separate, because he did not live in his ego. But he understood that most of us did live in our egos, and he did not judge us for it. He simply modeled again and again how to come home to the deeper truth. Shortly before the crucifixion, at a time when he understood what must happen, the Bible talks about his words in the Garden of saying, I am afraid, take this from me. Before that night, Yeshua, as my friend, said to me, Nathaniel, I am afraid. I said to him, Yeshua, I've never heard you to be afraid. You've told me fear comes from the ego. What is this fear? He looked at me and said, the ego is afraid. The human is afraid. And I would be dishonest if I denied that ego and that human were part of the makeup of this divine essence. He said to me that day, if I were to deny that, I would never be able to have compassion. It is this recognition, both of the divinity of the self and of the human, that does feel fear and pain, anger and confusion. This is where you find compassion, nowhere else. He said to me that day, your work here on earth, is it not to be something other than the human, but to transcend the human emotions and limitations by knowing the true self and having compassion for the human? It must come together. just a few minutes, Yeshua will come also and talk with you. I want to say a few words here of, let's call it guidance for the coming year. Your country and your world are becoming increasingly polarized. This is part of the human experience. It's also, in a sense, part of the plan of ascension to a higher vibration, a higher polarity. That it is against the push of this negative polarity that you find the deeper truth of your own positive polarity. If there was never anything that pushed against you, how would you find the place in yourself that can dance with the push and not push back with aggression, but clearly say no to negativity? Some of us got together last Saturday at Jack and Anna Marie's house and had an interesting gathering. Speaking to anything of a negative polarity that had come to Earth, trying to shift the Earth to its negativity. And said to it, we're opening a portal for you so you may go home. Out of this realm that is aspiring to higher and higher positive polarity. Because we know you are uncomfortable with the increasing positive polarity. You are welcome to stay. But if you'd like to leave, you may leave. Beings did leave, many beings, not just those in Jack and Anna Marie's house, but through that gathering, many beings elsewhere. Basically, as a group, we and other groups around the world were holding open portals to release negativity on the earth. It's very different if you say you must go or you're free to go and we'll protect, we'll give you safe passage. In what ways are you able to give safe passage to your own experiences of negativity? Not to condemn yourself that there was anger, greed, jealousy, pride, or whatever. But to recognize this arose because of conditions. And I may release it. I do not have to hold on to it. In what ways have I made this more contracted ego and identity? Does it still serve me or has it ceased to serve? And if it has ceased to serve, what would it mean to give it safe passage? To literally release it. With your politics as they are in this country, you're going to have a lot of practice, I think. Some of you may sit at a Christmas table with family members who are much more pledged to those you do not wish to see continue in office? Are you going to get into an argument with them? Perhaps it will happen at the New Year's party, wherever it happens. Opening your heart and listen as Yeshua listened. Not needing to be right, but willing to hear others, but also not willing to concede and withdraw your own highest truth in deference to others. Respect must be mutual. You are offering respect to beliefs that do not resonate for you, in terms of willingness to hear without judgment. Then there may or may not be an opportunity to share your views. If the other is very contracted and negative, probably they can't hear your views. They'll just want to argue. Can you let them argue? Why do you have to prove yourself right? But you will still not back down, but able to say, my view is that this is harmful to many of us, and I hear you have a different view. Let us shake hands on our willingness to hold space for each other's views. And the other may tentatively extend his hand, not really able to listen to your views, but you've planted a seed. You've made transition possible by not insisting that the other embrace your views, and by being willing to say, no, I cannot embrace your views, but you have a right to them, and I respect your right to them. I do not predict, but a conjecture that this year is going to lead to some very strong oppositionality in your world. Those of you who are able to sit down and eat with the bullies, so to speak, may find that they have much more open hearts and more generosity than you imagined. This is what you build on, those seeds of light in each one. I want to leave time for Yeshua here. He will not speak for long, but he would like to come in and say hello. Just share a story or two. So I'm going to simply turn the body over to him without bringing Barbara back in, just making that shift. From me, my blessings and love to each of you. May this year bring you joy and peace, individually and as a world. May each of you find your ability to fulfill the intentions for which you came into the human experience. And may you find that it can be done with love. I give you Yeshua. My love to you all. I am Yeshua.
Everybody still with that water?
Aaron talked about irritation. Sometimes there are irritants. How do we relate to them? I can do it, thank you, Deja. Just remarking that, yes, when something doesn't behave the way you want it to, it's irritating. That's okay. One does not have to say, no, I won't be irritated. Just watching that human self that comes in and contracts. Right there with contraction, as Aaron would put it, is that which is uncontracted. Aaron is asking me to check the recording. You're fine, Aaron. You are love. It's as simple as that. You are human. That's also true. The human is a temporary expression of your being. The essence of you is not human. The human is the way that essence is expressing right now. And the human form carries a lot of different catalysts. You have sensitive skin. It's easily pierced. You have sensitive nostrils. They can burn with an acrid smell. The eyes will water. The skin will itch. And that's just the body. The emotions, anger, fear, shame, jealousy. You came here to experience this. You came here to remember who you are beyond the human. To know yourself, the innate radiance of yourselves. When you leave this body, who will you be? You will not be David or Anna Marie or Jack or Bill. You will be love, radiant love. But you forget so easily. I really had it easy in that lifetime as Yeshua, because I was granted the gift not to forget. Much easier for me than it is for you, who do forget. It is so painful to forget who you are. Can I help you remember? You are love. And you have that capacity for love. That is your essence and your birthright. You cannot lose it. Aaron has talked about how I treated each being with respect. Not as a sister or brother, but as self. As I just said, it was easy for me because I saw the big picture. You, my friends, are being asked to do something much harder. You think I had it hard that I was crucified. You are constantly crucified every day of your lives with severe physical and emotional pain, the limbs trembling, uncertain of what you are doing here. a far harder task than I faced. And you are doing it with so much love. I am awed by how much love you bring to the task for which you took incarnation. In a week, you celebrate what you think of as my birthday. The birthday of the human known as Yeshua. The human who came to embody the Christ consciousness. So you could learn to recognize it. This is your birthday. Can you wake up into being the true Christ that you are? Christ, meaning the awakened. Be as fully awake as you can, and do not condemn yourself where you cannot go any further. Just remember, it's a gradual emergence. The caterpillar does not look at itself and condemn itself for being a caterpillar and its inability to fly. When it forms a shell around itself, it does not condemn itself for being caught in that cocoon. It simply holds the faith. I am a butterfly, and I will fly free. Otherwise, how could it make a cocoon? It's following its life's journey. For many of you, these generations of your life have been, in a sense, the enclosure into the cocoon. Closed in, so you can't fully see. Taking it on faith, I will emerge as a butterfly. How is this going to happen? You are butterflies, every one of you. You are angels. You are flying free. You are beautiful. And I would ask you to trust the reality of that. Some of you have been taught that you should love as I, Yeshua, loved. And then you tell yourself, I shouldn't be angry. I should love as Yeshua loved. Instead, can you remind yourself, Yeshua tells me we are not only brothers, but identical twins. Grown in the same womb of love. Can I hold the faith to grow into all that I am and fully reflect the glory of the one infinite creator, of the source, of Abba, Mother, unconditional love? Hold that intention before you and know that it is already so, because there is no linear time. If there were linear time, there would be something you had to do. Well, you still have things to learn. That's fine. But there is nothing lacking in you to express yourself as a divinity, except your own beliefs and your own limitations. I embrace you all, my identical twin brothers and sisters. We come from the same womb. We are love. And together we will carry out the plan for love in this whole universe. Each beginning with itself, clarifying any negativity in itself. And as Aaron talked about, releasing that negativity through a portal, sending it out, not sending. Aaron says it's not the best word. Offering it a way of release as it's ready to go. I look forward to seeing what this earth is going to be like at some time in the future, when it truly is the ground for positive polarity in the universe. A grant, not the grant. There will be others, but a vital grant. And I look forward to the ability to embrace each of you as you transition from this body and look around and say, yes. And I said, yes. I told you you were no different than me. Here we are, in this higher vibration of love. Welcome home. And when you've rested a bit, you can elect to go back and continue to make a difference on the earth. That's up to you, your own free will choice. Many of you think of me as coming to save the earth in some way. Yes, I taught things. I held a space of love. But in a sense, that incarnation was as important to me as it is to you. It helped confirm for me the power of love in even the darkest situation. When love combined with the free will choice for love can truly overcome anything, even patience. And a willingness to just hold space and see it through. That seeing it through, that's hard for the guilt. Do you not think it was hard for me? At some point in that life as Yeshua, I knew what was to come. And yet I had to see it through. I didn't want to. Part of me didn't want to. Those words in your scriptures. Take this from me. But if it be needed, thy will be done. The task before you is needed. If the universe is going to shift into a positively polarized place. The earth is the model, a model, but a very important model for us. It is not someone else's will, but your will. to help bring forth this shift into positive polarity on Earth, into a place of love. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for your trust of yourselves and of me. Because I know you look to me and some of you say, if Yeshua says so, maybe I can trust. Well, I don't want to say to you, yes, trust it because I'm Yeshua. Not at all. Trust it because you are my brothers and sisters. And at some level, you know the deepest truth of love. You know you have the courage to see it through. There is a song this body cannot sing. Maybe some of you know it. May there be peace on earth, and may it begin with me. Does anyone know it? May there be peace on earth,
and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, heavenly all are we. Let me walk with my feather in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
If I stand up, for my face is out of the frame. My blessings to you. May this be a year of peace and joy for all sentient beings everywhere, on every plane. I give you my love. I will sit so those who are online can see me. I give you my love. Thank you for allowing me this time with you. I'll release the body to Barbara. Oops, watch your step. Thank you, Yeshua. Thank you, Aaron. This is Barbara. Thank you, everybody.